Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Monday, April 1st, 2024. Clean, safe drinking water is needed throughout the world. In Nigeria, we'll learn how a community is forced to get water from a small mud pond. Natural springs can be a great water source, but as we see here in eastern Uganda, it can still become contaminated. For many of us, holding on to limiting beliefs about ourselves and our situations could hold us back. Learn how to remove the beliefs by accessing your theta brainwaves. AT&T says data from 73 million current and former customers was leaked onto the dark web. And a state of emergency has been declared for Niagara Falls just 1 week before the big solar eclipse.
This is Calen, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. In Nigeria, the Apache community is struggling with severe water scarcity, depending entirely on small mud pond to meet their water needs. UNN field messenger Geebrand shares the challenging situation of this community.
Hello everyone around the world. My name is Geebrand, Field Messenger, United Network News. Today I'm in a community called Apache Community here in Benue State, Nigeria. I'm going to be, update you about a community called Apache. They have been, going through a scarcity of water, and this is a community with over 10,000, 2,000 and above houses, and the only water they have for drinking, bathing, and for other use is this is a pond. You can see the pond has now become a moot spot with almost no water at all. You can see how people are fetching water from this moat. They would allow it to settle down over the night so that they can drink whichever water that comes out of it. People of this community are really going through a lot. My people, this is how this very community are really suffering for water in this community. No single borehole of clean water, and the government doesn't care about them. There is no solution that the government is providing for these injury people. This is the condition right now in this Apache community, and this has been happening over decades, over decades of years. This very community have been in this bondage. Well, this is Geebrand Obo reporting as field messenger, United Network News. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Water from natural springs, often revered for its purity and natural filtration processes, can sometimes become a source of community health issues when contaminated. UNN field messenger Annet reports on the issues a community in eastern Uganda faces in having access to clean water.
Hello everyone, my name is Nabirye Annet, UNN News, Eastern Uganda. I'm in community, County, Slum Sub-County, Utama Village. This is an open well where people of this community fetch water for drinking, cooking, washing, among others. This water is not safe for drinking, as it is open to water coming from several diseases like diarrhea, dysentery, bilharzia. Before drinking, You have to first boil the water. You have to first boil the water. To make it more safe, it is to be constructed on be approached well. People of this community fetch water in the morning, afternoon, and in the evening. Spring is open to animals, birds, which also contaminates the water. If given chance, this spring can be constructed on and the water be clean and safe for people to drink it without cooking. Thank you.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia. I'm Mikey from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with the electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN field messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
Living in the new earth means letting go of previous beliefs that no longer support you. Those could be beliefs you have about yourself, other people, or the world in general. Connecting with God or Source through your Theta brainwaves is one way to clear those limiting beliefs. Michelle Ann Phillips is a Theta healing practitioner who is also part of our care community. We're talking about getting into Theta. And Michelle, in the past, we've talked about one of the benefits of getting into Theta is the ability to clear limiting beliefs. I would love to have your take on the specifics, like how do you actually clear these beliefs? What's been your experience, and what do you teach others?
Okay, so what we're taught in the Theta healing courses is that there's 4 belief programs or 4 levels of beliefs, right? So we have our core level, which is everything we've learned from age 0 to 7, and they're stored in the frontal cortex. Then we have our genetic level, which is like all of our ancestors and the traumas that they've been through that get stored in our body. And typically when we witness changes there, we'll see it in like the pineal gland in the morphogenetic field. And then we have the history level, which is like collective consciousness of different times and places that you may have been past lives, if you believe in that, like all of those things, right? So the collective consciousness of the different times that you've been around. And then there's your soul level, which is all that you've ever been, all that you ever will be, like the infinite you, right? So everything that has been experienced. So typically, these beliefs can be found by looking at certain patterns in your life. Like you're like, I deserve to be rich. Well, if you're living in poverty, obviously you don't believe that, right? So we would find out, well, why don't you believe that? And It could just be a genetic program. Like, for example, I had a client the other day who grew up in communism. So we got her to muscle test this, and that I have permission to have money. And it was a no. Because she, she grew up in that communism, right? And that's true. Yeah. And that whole collective consciousness around socialism and things, like, you're not allowed to be any better. Everybody has to be on that same level. So she wasn't allowed to succeed. She wasn't allowed to push past the glass ceiling, so to speak. So all of those beliefs that she had got just from living in a communist country, and the people around her, never mind what she was actually taught from ages 0 to 7. So if there's something in your life that feels out of place, or you're not seeing the desired results, if it's your health, your relationships, your bank account, then there's probably some sort of belief that you may not consciously believe, but remember, that's the 5%. But you've got that 95% of you that is on those other levels, and not to mention what we've heard has been done to humanity from the cabal and these other forces, like how all the programming and implants and overlays. So like, we can clear those too. So it's just moving the energy. And when I find beliefs, I don't get upset about them anymore. I've changed that because now I know that I can change it like that.
What about limiting beliefs coming back?
Okay.
So we've cleared them, but they reared their ugly head again somehow.
Right. So oftentimes we hang on to beliefs because they're serving us on some level. For example, if you have somebody who's sick and on disability, well, if I get healed, I'll lose my disability. Check. Right? Okay. So there's a lot of fear programs and a lot of things that serve us. And then there's the quantum entanglement of things like shame and guilt, for example, right? So if you were to say no to your mother, but then you feel bad about it, you love your mother, but there's the guilt. Right? So now you have guilt quantumly entangled with your love.
You must know my mother. It's very true.
Right? But we all have it. It's in our programming, right? Like, to entangle certain feelings with other feelings. And so oftentimes we just need to dig down to find out why this belief is still there. Like, how is it serving you? And oftentimes people are afraid of what if I am healed? I don't know how to live as a healed person. If all of a sudden $1 million dropped into my bank account, that sounds wonderful, but oh my gosh, what's that level of fear that pops up in there? What's the worst thing that can happen? And immediately you might think, oh my God, nothing. But there's the tax man. And then there's, you might have some relatives coming out of the woodwork wanting handouts, or maybe everything you ever worked for was taken away by somebody else. And so you believe that if you get something good, it's only going to be taken away from you. Right? So there's so many different levels of belief that we have created within ourselves. That is why a lot of them can be a little stubborn. But the good news is once we get to those bottom beliefs, then you're good.
In the heart of Denmark's bustling city, Aarhus, a recycling initiative, is creating a circular economy by allowing residents to both give away and take home assorted items for free. The name of the recycling center is Reuse. No money is exchanged for each transaction. By using a simple sign-in process, individuals can access a give and take system that reuses goods ranging from clothes to furniture and electronics, thereby extending their life cycle and usefulness. This center provides great relief for those worried by financial limitations. You can get what your family needs at no cost and donate what you don't need. This circular economy truly strengthens community bonds by helping so many people. In cultivating such an inclusive economy, our house is leading by example and sowing the seeds for a global shift toward a more cooperative lifestyle. Every week, Continental, the world's largest used clothing market in Accra, Ghana, receives an overwhelming 15 million garments from Western countries. This influx of clothing contributes to an environmental disaster as pieces end up littering landfills, beaches, and the sea floor. The Orr Foundation has been on the front line of addressing this crisis since 2011, employing innovative upcycling, recycling, and educational efforts. By transforming discarded textiles into practical items such as tea towels, cushions, and renewed garments, they are turning the tide on waste. Additionally, the installation of shredding machines for stall holders facilitates the conversion of garment scraps into mattress stuffing or durable fiberboard for furniture and decor. The foundation is equally committed to enhancing the lives of the market workers through skills training and the improvement of working conditions. Through these actions, Continental Market emerges as a pioneering force in sustainable fabric waste management, uplifting its community and safeguarding the environment. In North Africa, the ancient practice of metal engraving is making a comeback amongst local artists. Passed through generations, the art involves carving detailed designs on metal for art, jewelry, and decorations. This craft is more than a creative expression. It's a key part of the region's cultural identity. Yet, fewer artists know how to do this traditional skill, raising concerns about the craft's future. To keep the tradition alive, experienced engravers are teaching it to the younger generation. Although this craft is more appreciated by outsiders than locals, there's hope that focusing on its preservation could boost tourism and the economy. With committed mentors ready to share their knowledge, the future of North Africa's metal art looks promising, ensuring a new wave of artists and crafters will continue this historic practice. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada,
Uganda,
from Atlanta, in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. In the U.S., AT&T has confirmed data from 73 million current and former customers was leaked on the dark web. The compromised information, dating back to 2019 or earlier, includes personal details like Social Security numbers. Although it's not clear whether the breach originated from AT&T or one of its vendors, the company has initiated a comprehensive investigation with the help of cybersecurity experts. To mitigate the risk, AT&T has reset the passcodes of affected current customers and plans to contact those with compromised sensitive information. Although financial data and call records were reportedly not exposed, the breach raises concerns over personal security and privacy for millions. Customers are advised to stay vigilant and monitor their accounts for any unusual activity. The Social Security Administration has announced a change benefiting millions of Americans who receive supplemental security income. Effective September 30th, food assistance will no longer reduce the monthly benefits of the recipients, a group that includes adults with children with disabilities, blindness, or those 65 and older with minimal income. This change, affecting approximately 7.4 million individuals, eliminates the previous practice of counting food aid as unearned income, which could decrease payments or affect eligibility. This update is expected to ease the financial burden on the recipients who, as one of the most food insecure groups in the country, have struggled under the pressure of high inflation and rising food costs. Future legislative efforts may further strengthen the supplemental security income by increasing asset limits, allowing beneficiaries to save toward a more secure financial future. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has issued a major alert for Impella left-sided heart pumps after linking them to 49 deaths and 129 injuries. The pumps, made by Biomed, now a Johnson & Johnson subsidiary, are designed to support the heart temporarily during critical procedures or after severe heart attacks. However, misuse can lead to the device puncturing the heart's left ventricle. Following an FDA inspection and a warning letter to Biomed, the manufacturer released new guidance for the pump's correct use, aiming to reduce the risk of heart perforation during insertion. Despite the serious warnings, the FDA has not pulled the device from the market, but categorized the company's response as, quote, the most serious type of recall, end quote. This recall affects more than 66,000 devices distributed in the U.S. since October of 2021. In an emerging trend, increasing numbers of retirees in the U.S. are choosing to re-enter the workforce. This shift, referred to as unretiring, sees individuals in their 60s and 70s taking on jobs to remain active and to supplement their income amid rising inflation. A significant driver behind this trend is the decreasing purchasing power of retirement savings and Social Security benefits due to inflation. Employers facing a tight labor market are increasingly viewing older workers as valuable assets, highlighting their experience and reliability. Despite the opportunities, age discrimination remains a concern for many, prompting advice on how to modernize resumes and online presence to improve job prospects. Experts advise focusing on recent experience and modernizing digital presence to enhance employability. American Airlines has announced changes to its pet travel policy, making it easy for passengers to fly with their furry companions. Under the new policy, passengers can now bring a pet inside the cabin alongside either a carry-on bag or personal item. This is a notable shift from previous regulations, which allowed passengers to bring only a single small item if traveling with a pet. The change aims to simplify travel for pet owners, eliminating the need to check larger bags for a fee. However, pet travel is subject to a standard $150 fee plus any applicable carry-on fees, with the first checked bag now costing $35, up from $30. This policy change, also coinciding with an increase in checked bag fees, reflects the airline's ongoing efforts to adjust services in response to passenger needs and industry standards. In anticipation of a rare total solar eclipse on April 8th, the Niagara region in Canada has declared a state of emergency to prepare for a large amount of visitors. The decision was made as a precautionary measure to ensure the safety of both residents and visitors and to protect critical infrastructure. The eclipse's path includes the iconic Niagara Falls, located on the Canadian-U.S. border, making it a prime viewing location. Local officials expect the event to attract a record number of attendees, with estimates suggesting up to 1 million people may gather. This anticipated turnout vastly exceeds the area's typical annual visitation of 14 million people spread throughout the year. China has issued a travel advisory warning to its citizens about potential safety concerns while visiting the United States. The advisory highlights instances where Chinese nationals, including students and corporate employees, faced unwarranted searches and were subject to interrogation by U.S. airport law enforcement. This has caused a significant stir, with several being denied entry. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs strongly disapproves of these actions, labeling them as political and discriminatory, attributing it to a Cold War mentality. These incidents have strained the bilateral exchanges between the two countries, affecting the academic and professional lives of numerous Chinese citizens abroad. Despite challenges, both countries are supportive of promoting educational exchanges. China plans to invite 50,000 young Americans to study there for the next 5 years, aiming to bridge gaps and enhance mutual understanding. Also in China, the aging workforce face significant employment challenges due to a combination of automation, economic slowdown, and age discrimination. Many older migrant workers find themselves unable to secure jobs, regardless of how low the wage offered is. Temporary work has become a go-to solution for some, with individuals taking whatever job they can find, from manual labor at construction sites to caretaking positions, often working 7 days a week without rest. The situation is dire for those older than 50 as they approach or surpass the retirement age, which varies depending on the company and the type of work. Proposals have been made to ease job search difficulties for the elderly by offering more flexible age requirements and better access to job markets. Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced a new conscription campaign requesting 150,000 citizens to fulfill their statutory military duty. This decision has reignited discussions on compulsory military service in Russia, a nation where the obligation has historically been met with resistance. Many Russian men seek to avoid conscription, which requires a year of service from those 18 and older or undertaking equivalent training during higher education. Furthermore, the age limit for conscription recently increased to 30, up from 27, a change that took effect starting January 1st of 2024. While conscripts are legally prohibited from being deployed in conflicts outside of Russia, errors during previous mobilizations have seen some mistakenly sent to the front lines, increasing concerns about the impact of conscription on citizens' lives. Myanmar's military has mandated mobile providers to send draft notifications to men 18 to 35 years old, stirring anxiety amongst residents. Now, this directive is part of the regime's efforts to strengthen its forces amidst increasing instances of shutting down mobile connections to combat rebel activities. Mobile operators, including the state-owned Myanmar Post and the Telecommunications, or MPT, are caught in a difficult position, balancing operational challenges and the imperative to serve Myanmar's residents. MPT, recognizing the critical nature of its services, had previously waived fees post-cyclone, showcasing its commitment to the community amidst operational pressures. This situation highlights the deepening crisis as the military tightens its control, impacting ordinary citizens' lives through fear and conscription and disruptions in essential communication services. Somalia's parliament has unanimously approved amendments to the first 4 chapters of the country's provisional constitution. The constitution now positions Somalia to have both a president and a prime minister, with the president holding the power to appoint or remove the prime minister. This amendment aims to streamline executive operations amid Somalia's complex political landscape, characterized by clan-based and regional disputes. The amendments introduced a three-party system and set government constitutional body terms at 5 years. However, provisions such as setting the maturity age at 15 and addressing female genital mutilation have sparked controversy and criticism from human rights groups and political stakeholders. They warn such measures could expose girls to greater risks of child marriage, impacting their health, education, and protection from abuse. Algerians are struggling with soaring inflation, making everyday essentials expensive, particularly during the holy month of Ramadan. In the capital markets, shoppers expressed distress over the high costs of essential items such as food. The situation is aggravated, by years of economic austerity, despite recent economic improvements due to rising oil prices. Residents recount the challenge of meeting basic needs with their current incomes amidst escalating prices. To address the issue, the Algerian government has introduced subsidized markets in the capital, aiming to make essential products more accessible and affordable. This initiative, known as the Solidarity Market, has been welcomed by consumers for offering lower prices compared to regular markets. Bulgaria and Romania have partially entered the Schengen zone, facilitating travel by air and sea within most European Union countries, following an agreement last year. This move comes despite Austria's reservations about full membership, citing concerns over illegal immigration. Both nations look forward to complete integration, including land border crossings by year end, which would abolish all passport checks for travelers and goods. To address concerns about illegal immigration, the regional police pact with Austria, Greece, and Slovakia aims at fortifying border security. This move is seen as a win-win, promoting free movement while ensuring the security of EU borders. After months of disrupted strikes and negotiations, the German Train Drivers Union, or GDL, and Deutsche Bahn have reached a wage agreement. The dispute, which became one of Deutsche Bahn's longest wage conflicts, periodically halting train services, leaving stations deserted, and forcing millions to seek alternative travel means. GDL's demands included a reduction in weekly working hours to 35 at full pay amidst a backdrop of high inflation and a surge in industrial actions across the nation's transport sector. The halt in rail services inconvenienced daily commutes and stressed the country's overall transport network, including air travel and public transportation systems. The resolution, expected to be detailed in the upcoming news conferences in Berlin, comes as a welcome end to a period marked by uncertainty and disruption for countless German residents and visitors. In Australia, many teachers opt for career changes due to stress, burnout, and challenging working conditions. The situation has led to an educational crisis, with some schools facing staff shortages and teachers having to manage multiple classes simultaneously. New research reveals a critical insight. More than 80% of those who left teaching have retained their registration, suggesting a potential return if conditions improve. While some transition into different sectors, a majority remain within education, moving to roles such as curriculum development and policy making. The issue of understaffing and assaults in schools further aggravates the situation, creating a dire need for change in working conditions to retain experienced teachers and prevent a leadership vacuum. Another study in Australia has found psychological therapy significantly benefits older adults experiencing depression, more so than traditional care methods. Research involving nearly 900 elderly participants demonstrated that those who underwent psychological treatment experienced significantly less depression compared to those who only received standard care. Despite the proven effectiveness of these therapies, Access remains limited due to funding issues and ageism, with misconceptions about older individuals' interest or capacity for psychological intervention. This situation is aggravated by the current lack of specialized training for the aged care mental health workforce. Currently, residents in aged care have constrained access to Medicare's subsidized therapy, with referrals typically required from a psychiatrist, a resource not widely available to this demographic.
Tired of being programmed? At United Network, you'll discover the truth about what's really happening on our planet. Get instant access to our written news, UNN newscasts, world situation reports, and in-depth stories from our field messengers. Manifest your amazing abilities as we explore the new Earth, plus original series to inspire and encourage you throughout your day. Get connected through United Chat, our personal chat room where you can join the conversation, share your experience, and also submit your questions for Kim. Watch United Network at home or on the go through your computer, favorite online streaming program, or mobile apps.
Welcome to United Network News.
Start your free trial today. UnitedNetwork.earth, bringing people together.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. As the deep state works all weekend to raise the Antichrist, source had other plans. Love is the source of all creation. It is the force of the tree of life, whereas the serpent is the source of the tree of death. All right, now here she is joining us live. Here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Nice to see you, Kim.
I'm really not here, April Fools.
April Fools. But I see you. I can see you with my own eyes. So
no,
I
you cannot.
That's the joke. So I have a question about April Fools before we get to the hard-hitting stuff here, because I kind of have a theory on why April Fool's Day is like a big joke. Okay. This is something, and I'm going to run this by you and see if it holds any weight, because this is something I've been questioning a lot. And that is the timing of things, right? We know we're in crystalline time now. Time is changing in general, but it's drawn my attention to how off our calendar system is. Yep. Obviously, we have, when you spring ahead, you fall back, all that kind of stuff that we do here in the US. It is so infuriating because not everybody does it, and everybody does it at different times. And I was really thinking most recently about the months. Okay, so we have, 12 months in the year. And if you look at some of these months, it absolutely does not make sense with where it falls in the calendar. So let me explain. So September is currently our 9th month, but Sept means 7, right? October is our 10th month, but Oct means 8. And you can do the same thing with November and December. And it makes no sense for us to start a brand new year when things are dying in January, right? Winter months and things like that, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. It makes sense to do that in the spring when there is life and there is new things growing. So the way I interpret this, bringing it back to April Fool's Day, is the joke's on us, because they have totally screwed with, sorry to say it that way, but they have totally messed with our timing of everything to throw us off. And if you look online, and I encourage you guys to do this, just look and see what it says, like the history of April Fools. How did this start? And most sites say they don't know. People just started playing games one day on this day. I don't buy that at all. I think that this was a deep state thing. And I think the joke is on us because this is actually the start of our new year.
Well,
that's my theory, at least.
Well, the actual start of our new year was always on the equinox.
Okay.
So it wasn't ever in January. It wasn't ever January 1st. Our calendars weren't even at January 1st, years ago. This calendar is actually fairly new. It's only a few centuries old. It's not that old.
Yeah.
They say AD is when Christ died, and yet, how could it be AD? Because it means after death. Like, that's weird, right? Wouldn't it be after his death, like that the calendar would have started?
I thought AD was Anna Domingo.
Well, yes, but the traditional way of people looking at it is after death, right? Before Christ and after death.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, it probably has other names, but that's kind of the way that it's portrayed on the internet and portrayed in many circles. It means after death.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I mean, as far as our calendar year goes, it makes no sense.
No, none.
No. And a lot of that probably has to do with their rituals and their days, this weekend being no exception. And I'm pretty sure it had to do with Christian Easter, but yet Orthodox Easter, so Orthodox Christian Easter, isn't even until the end of this month. So I'm not exactly sure how you could say it's Easter, but everybody thinks Easter is on a different day.
I know, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you determine that? Based on our calendar, based on the moon? Well, it's not on the moon, you know. But there is, one thing is for sure, time has been messed with in general. We have date lines, timelines that are longitude. They're measured by longitude around the globe. I can understand that, I guess, as to why the way the Earth turns, and not so much around the sun, but the way we turn every single day. So I can get why they tried to establish something like this. But is April Fool's Day, you know, when was the new year? I don't know. You know, I mean, I definitely know that if you're talking to the others that have lived here for a long time, they will tell you the first day of the new year is actually on the spring equinox.
That makes sense to me, right? So maybe not right on April, but I can just picture the deep state being like, let's create this holiday, you know, because they love to tell us like what they're doing without telling us. Like, yeah, everyone will play jokes, but really the joke's on them. Like, I could just see that being a thing with them and like, you know, getting a kick out of it every year when we do stupid stuff on, you know, the day that's supposed to be our new year or somewhere around there at least. So.
Well, and isn't it, I don't think it's any coincidence that over the weekend, they were reporting everywhere, you know, that April 1st, all this is going to happen, Nasara Jasara is going to happen, the Q clock was running out, you know, the RV's happening, the revaluation of currencies happening, everything is supposed to happen today. Mm-hmm. And nothing happened. And we'll get into a little bit more, except what they were trying to do over the weekend. Which, does that coincide with April 1st or does that coincide with Easter? You know, the fact that they kind of sat at the Garden Tomb in Israel since Friday afternoon our time, maybe it has something to do with Easter. Maybe Easter isn't even on the day that we think it is. Maybe all of this transpired 8 days, for example, after the equinox. You know, well, in this case, we're at, 12 days. Because it was on the March 20th this year. So does that have something more to do with it? You know, who knows why they do the things they do sometimes. I try to figure it out because only from the standpoint of what's coming. You know, what's coming for us? What are they going to try next? Where are they going to go next? And just trying to figure out how they do what they do or why they do what they do, I have no idea. For all I know, FOOL actually means something origin of
acronym.
Something Lucifer or something. Yeah. Who knows?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that, like our calendar system cleared up, our time, our sense of time, because I think this can actually, if you were to take this a step further, when you throw off your internal clock, so to speak, you're throwing off fertility, menstruation, like from a woman's point of view, which we know that they're trying to mess with that in general. And I think they just want us to be like dazed and confused just because our circadian rhythms are off. Everything is just off. And I think that kind of placates us a little bit. You know, I know it sounds horrible, but I really think that that was all part of it. Is just keep them dumb as much as you can. And part of that is the timing is just so off for everything. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And circadian rhythm to me means a lot more than just what time, is it nighttime, is it daytime, when do I sleep, when do I not sleep? It means the difference between detecting light and dark. So that can be light and dark energy, life and death. I mean, it can be a lot of different things. And that's why a lot of your bodily functions are, are off. That's why they say more women have babies on the full moon than any other time of the month.
Wow.
There's a lot, definitely a lot to it, as far as your circadian rhythm and our calendar. And why they created it this way, no idea. We've changed it several times.
Yeah, I think we need to change it again. It's so off.
Well, like here, I'll throw something else at you. Okay, so March 15th is the Ides of March, and it allegedly is the day that they murdered Julius Caesar.
Right.
Which allegedly was around the same time that we started another calendar.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So
what the tie-in is there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just happens to be just a few days before the spring equinox. Allegedly, I mean, who knows in the calendar that it was at that time, but the messing about with time, and time is not just what time of day is it? Where are we going at this time, allegedly? Time is actually created by, for lack of a better term, the antikarana, or what you would call anti-source, or death, or the serpent. There's another thing. I was looking into this weekend because I'm like, why are they in these locations right now? What is the big deal about a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse? There's all kinds of stuff going on in the internet, around this very thing. So I did want to touch on a few of those things too, because there's a lot of fear going on. And it's not just about the eclipses now. It's that the lunar eclipse path went right over one spot, and the solar eclipse path is going to go right over that same spot. And right in the center is allegedly a fault line. Have you heard that one, Sunny?
I've seen the cross, or I've seen, where it connects, but I didn't hear about a fault line. There's in Texas, right? That's where it, well, at least here in the U.S.
Yeah, this place is a little bit north of that where they're talking about.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden it's changed its course. That's the other thing this morning. It's not going in the same path that they told everybody it was going.
Really?
Yeah. Oh,
The upcoming solar eclipse, the path has changed?
That's what they said. Some social media channels, let's put it that way, are saying that it is no longer in the same, if you thought you were in the direct path, you might be off by 100 or so miles now, allegedly.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I know. The stuff that they're putting out now is absolutely ridiculous. And, what they did this weekend was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, here's another thing that's out there too. Apparently they have demons from the fourth density of the lower astral hanging out at CERN.
I have heard more stuff about CERN, and someone joining CERN or something like that. Was our country that was now going to be part of CERN? I was just scrolling through some headlines. But that's coming back up in the news. I've noticed that, CERN.
Well, there are many hadron colliders on this planet. Some bigger, some smaller. CERN is by far probably not quite. There are some in China that are larger. As an example, they just don't publicize it as much as they do this particular one. They also have talked about the fact that they moved it from Switzerland to Australia, which actually did happen, and we reported on that with the Winston Wu case many months ago. And then now there's a CERN back in Switzerland, and then there's one in France, and then there's one in UK. So there's hadron colliders in the United States, for example. So this isn't the only one by far. It's just the one that's most talked about, and it's most recognized in social media. So to use CERN and say that there's demons allegedly hanging out at CERN, number one, that's absolutely false. They did have a way to create, when Omega was around, to generate AI-generated lower astral beings, which most all lower astral beings are, in through a portal where CERN used to be located. They moved it to another location in Australia, which had a similar type portal when the other one stopped working. So that's kind of the story behind CERN. They have definitely moved it to places where there are like 8th density, lower astral portals, or there were in the past. It's pretty big, so it's hard to move. It doesn't really function. It was aided when it had a connection to the Omega system in the past, so it did have some functionality. Is anything going to happen on the 8th with that? No. No. The last time they allegedly fired it up was all a show anyway. That wasn't even real. Nothing had fired up anything, and it's ridiculous what they're saying right now. And I think this has a lot to do with the events that they thought were going to take place over the weekend. So, The Simpsons. I had no idea that the Simpson series is still running. Did you know it's still running, Sunny? I mean,
with new episodes, I guess I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I see all the clips online that it predicted this, it predicted that.
Yeah.
I see all that, but I never really watched it. So I'm like, okay.
But the funny part is I distinctly remember them saying, back in I think it was 2020 or so, that Trump was going to be shot, and they showed this whole episode in a casket. But now apparently this event is supposed to take place in 2024 under completely different circumstances. And I'm like, I feel like I'm having a Mandela effect, here, because number one, I had no idea that the show was still running. I mean, I haven't seen it since the 90s, so probably I'm never going to watch it again. But, these are just things that are circulating. Allegedly, if that happens, then there's going to be a nuclear event, they're saying. I don't believe that's going to happen at all, purely because it's nearly impossible. But they don't have any keys to do anything like that. I mean, maybe small ICBMs or something like that, but nothing like a major nuclear event happening on this planet. Probably because they thought they were going to get access to something at some point. But April Fools, didn't work.
Didn't work. Sorry, guys.
I know. But it definitely was a battle over the weekend. Not so much with them. They did create a lot of disturbances, but let's just finish the rumor mill, and then we'll get into their crazy for the weekend. Okay, another rumor going around. They are going to release, by they, I assume they are the deep state in this particular case, an enormous amount of biowarfare moments before the eclipse. Now, the answer to that question is no. They are definitely not going to do that. Are they going to try something else? I don't know, possibly. But the event that they were looking for with 100% certainty was that red dust event that we talked about a few days ago. That is the enormous amount of biowarfare they are expecting.
Okay.
So they're hoping that you are going to manifest this by putting your attention on it and focusing on these things in order to create this event into reality. Remember, they use you to create. They cannot create on their own. They are using you to create everything that we see around us. And if you want to create something else, remember the words no, not, don't, I don't want, don't count. So be very careful, because the more connected we are, the more powerful you become as a co-creator, as an individual. And we're going to talk a bit about that a little bit more too. Okay, now isn't it funny that millions, if not billions of people around the planet were focused on the death of Christ on Friday? I mean, billions of people were going to various religious facilities, having dinners, doing all types of things, focused at the same time on the death of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you well know, there is something called an antichrist. So you have crystalline time, crystalline energy, crystalline love. You have all of these Christ energies, so to speak, and you have an Antichrist energy. Now, what does that do for the planet? Well, starting on Friday, unfortunately for me, Friday, that would be at the earliest time, over in Australia when it turned to Friday, much earlier than it does here in the States. But what were they doing? They were going to various places on the earth, and I cannot believe that there's still anything left here. After all we have done, they maybe these are things that are only allegedly activated during this time of year, because the Pallavicini family and some of the SSP people were under the Vatican doing some sort of a weirdo ritual that had to do with the death of Christ. Now, another one of the favorite colors of the deep state, Satanist churches, you see a lot of red and you see a lot of black.
Yep.
Now, anti-love or damnation, condemnation, anti-Corona was actually a thing. It actually existed because it took the love of Christ when Christ died a few thousand years ago, a couple thousand years ago, and not going to give you an exact day because, who knows? We're in a calendar that, like you said,
because our dates are all off.
I know. Our dates are all off, so we don't know.
We don't
Recently,
know.
on a day ending in Y, sometime around now, this all took place. And I died so you don't have to. You did not have to, is a part of that. Part of that was a deal that was made for the Christ, the soul of this being, to go down to the lower astral and to give love to anti-source during the Dark Age. Not saying this is nothing against the being, not to say that was a bad human. It wasn't, when there were other consequences, because the threat was very high to destroy all of humanity, to destroy Earth, and there's a reason why they want to destroy humans. Do you have a question, Sunny?
No, I was just going to say that is very well known in a lot of Christian circles, that when Jesus died, he went to hell. So I don't even think that's controversial, just because that's taught. I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
And that he did. And then it created all of these, I call it space junk, because it's the dark has to use mechanisms, as we had talked about a number of months ago. It has to create heartstones and crystals and conductors and all of these types of things in order to function. But that further condemned Earth and humans right there to slavery, unfortunately. By slavery, it doesn't necessarily just mean you go to work every day, there's a financial system that's all messed up. It actually means that now your creative love energy that you get from Source is now used 100% to create something dark.
Okay.
And to maintain the dark here on this planet. So therefore, all of the energy that you bring into your body, the majority of which you don't receive, that is cut right off the top, and then it goes down there, and it becomes part of the Christ anti-source covenant, which also expired.
So was it not a good thing then overall for Jesus the Christ to go down? Like, that wasn't a mistake. Why would that happen? It
was either that, one, because of the being so powerful and so connected to Source. Source is 99.9% closest to Source, meaning pure essence, pure consciousness, pure energy, to go down, or all of us, meaning all of humanity and all Earth's inhabitants, would have had to go down. That's the difference between a being that is that powerful and then the way we have been. This version of humans is different than it was in the very, very beginning too. So humans, I keep saying you don't know how powerful you are, because as a group, as a united group, you can create something really amazing here on Earth. We tend to fight each other a lot. My view's this way. These aliens from this planet are the way to go. These ones are the ones that are going to save us. Whatever it is, whatever the view is, you forget why it is important that you unite. Because together as humanity, you can be just as powerful as the Christ being. Separately, yes, varying days, varying degrees, varying amounts of darkness, varying amounts of depression, things that prevent you from creating, are thrown at us constantly, all day, every day. Is April Fool's Day one of those days? Maybe it was. Maybe it's a day they make a mockery out of Christ, or maybe make a mockery out of you. Maybe it's a day that they used to feed the Antichrist energy. Also known to you as death, in case you were wondering. We never had death before. Not so much dealing with the Christ, but that was where it got amplified. Let's just say it was, it took a program that was already kind of running and it took over Earth at that point and all that was on it. And that is why at the Vatican on Friday, they were making several attempts to leverage your soul, to try to find any remnants of something that we call SESQB, which allowed them liens on your soul, liens on your energy, liens on your consciousness. And these people thought they were the ones to do the job, apparently. Yeah. So they tried to re-lean humanity again by doing some weirdo ceremony with some strange red and black stones underneath the Vatican on Friday. And it didn't stop there. This was an all weekend long thing because they weren't sure when the Antichrist was going to take back over Earth. And all this nightmare, according to them, that's what they call this light age here, a nightmare. And all of this nightmare would be over, and that was the hope. That was what they were wishing for over the weekend, and that they would be back in control and all the money would come out and the Omega system would flip, and they would be able to bring it all back. So there was a few things that would turn on alien technology, not human technology, that would turn on around this time every year. Now, does that mean it was just a few days before April 1st? I don't know. Was it a Good Friday thing? I don't know. And if that is the case, then how could that be other than the entire world, or billions of people, not all the people in the world, but billions of people are focused on the death of the Christ?
I always had a problem with this every year. I was like, why do we call it Good Friday? I don't think it's a very good day. And why are we celebrating this? I mean, the answer that I would get is because if he didn't die, then he couldn't rise and save us. And I'm like, we're still celebrating death. It just never made any sense to me. Never.
Yep. Celebrating death. So death, by definition, if you remember the story, it's been around a lot longer than this, but the Antikarana is what it's called. Antikarana. And the Antikarana is represented several times in human history as the serpent. So for one, being the Garden of Eden, and in some cultures, they actually say that once she ate of the tree, that the serpent came and turned the tree into death. Which is true. We did have throughout the multiverse, not totally through the Alphaverse, but definitely throughout Earth, we definitely had a tree of death. We had that serpent Antikarana, which was a being that was able to come in and around Earth, go no further, based on the covenant with the Christ and anti-source. So, yes, we were essentially, I guess you would say, running on the tree of death, the exact opposite of the tree of life, until recently, this weekend. So what is meant for our harm, we use for our good. So you don't know what you don't know, and Christians don't know what they're doing is bad. But these guys sure did, because they went to several different locations around the world. I'm trying to remember all the different places, but Romania was one of them. Definitely a couple of places in the United States, a place in Arkansas that I remember vividly. You would never have guessed where it's like in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, and nothing special. But they were definitely using these machines because I guess they would go off at this time of year. Or is it that all of you humans focusing on the death of the Christ trigger them? That is entirely possible. Again, you don't realize how powerful you are. So then they start emitting these frequencies in an attempt to open up the gateway to allow death in.
But how much does intention play into this, Kim? Because the people that are going to services have a true heart in this, right? They don't realize what's going on. You know, they don't realize the negative side of all of this, but they truly do believe that Jesus is God, and it is their way of worshiping what they believe to be the creator of the universe through Jesus. So how much does intention play into this? Because they're not intending for nasty stuff to happen.
You're still celebrating the death of the Christ.
You are, yeah.
Yes, you are.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Now, celebrating the death of it rising is a whole nother story. Like intent plays a role in the natural and organic. The focusing on an event plays a role in the inorganic world in its ability to create. Oh, they're all focused on death, all in this one day. Isn't that great? They must want me to come back.
Okay.
They're looking for death. Everybody wants the death today on this special day. So did it help them any? No. Was it probably one of the rockiest weekends I think I've had in a long time? Absolutely. For me, it was, because all those frequencies are terrible. And then all the work that had been done, but it did lead us to doing something else on our side of it that counteracted it and acted as a protection measure without everything trying to go through basically my person. Because as the gate guardian and as the gatekeeper, every time they try to open up a gate, all it does is send every frequency to me personally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So go straight to my solar plexus, straight to my head, straight to you name it, whatever plane of existence they're trying to open, it comes at me all weekend long. Isn't that joyful? It was bad. But it did lead us to launching the next part. So this is good.
All right.
So we've talked about consciousness, essence, energy, but things that I didn't realize. Like if I say the word love to you, Sunny, what's love? And I mean, if we were to look at it from a scientific standpoint, you would say, I would say it's a frequency. That's what I would say. But it's actually not. It's actually a part of Source itself, but an entity unto itself that allows for creation.
Okay.
So it's like we have the multiple planes of existence. We have the emotional plane, and we've gone all over that a number of times. This is actually a plane or a part of the existence of Source itself. So it has its own essence, it has its own consciousness, it has its own energy. How's that for interesting? I didn't know that. I thought it was a frequency.
Yeah, I did too. So when we say like the God particle, is that what we're actually talking about? Are those little specks of love?
Well, that's all parts of Source.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all parts of Source. This here is just an entity that exists as a part of the Creator, which allows for creation to take place.
Wow.
And the opposite of that is anti-creation or death.
Okay.
The death of things, antimatter, anti-consciousness. Think about what all these things do. The black hole, the nothingness, the place where no life exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact opposite of what love is. So, where does creativity live? It lives in, if you're talking the entire multiverse, it lives in the fifth density of the multiverse. If you're talking about your person, it lives in your causal plane. During the time of anti-creation, because they took Source's love, which was what the Christ figure was, basically walking Source love, a walking piece of the Creator on this planet. And then they made the agreement with anti-Source. Now anti-Source could actually create with death. That makes any sense to you. So it gave it more creative powers than it already had before, once the covenant was made. And it took yours too. It's the same thing with computer systems and AI systems. It takes the creativity away. Think about what you're feeling when you are your most creative, when things just start to flow, whether it's you're painting or you're singing a song or whatever your version of creation is. You know, when things manifest in your life, are you paying attention to the fact that you are using Source love? You are using the love. Are you using the creator, the part of the creator that allows for it to come through the causal plane and manifest into the astral and eventually into the physical plane? You know, something to think about when you are manifesting things. You know, we talk about chakras and we talk about the color red. We know it as an evil thing, but it's not evil. The color red stands for love because it also is the same color of the causal plane. So that mixed with pure white essence and white light is what the being or the part of Source known as love is. So it's pure white and red instead of pure black and red. And that's the transition that we started going through yesterday, on through last night, because I had to figure out some way, because love is also your shield. Nothing can manifest into you physically unless you give it permission to come through the causal plane. And that goes for the lower astral, that goes for evil, that goes for illness, that goes for disease, and all the other things that death down there created. Once you have back control of your causal plane, 100%, you would have to give permission for that to come here. Just like they were trying to get me to do yesterday, whether they knew it or not. So it's very uncomfortable when someone tries to bring death through your body and into existence. You know, it's not a fun thing, you know, but as gatekeeper, you have control whether or not that manifests onto this planet or into this planet on any level. So I had to figure out a way to stop it because it was draining me this weekend. And that's when we had discovered the shield of love. You know, I knew about the shield of Source. They talk about in some Christian texts, they say to protect yourself with what?
Yeah, you're talking about like the breastplate and the shield, and I can't remember what verse it is.
Oh, that's a whole nother ceremony they did this weekend. No. You're talking about the sword of truth and the...
Yeah. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about something else.
No, I've heard people that are very religious, that are maybe seers or prophets, however you describe them, whatever is applicable in that particular religion, say to cover yourself in the blood of Christ.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too.
The blood of Christ is love. So it works. It worked this weekend. I wasn't sure what was going to happen this weekend. I'm telling you, I couldn't make it stop. No matter what I did, I couldn't make it stop. But finally, I figured out, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. So Source actually did. He's like, hey, so covering everything in love is actually what protected, I mean, in the first instance, myself, from that constant drilling that was going on for 72 hours straight. But also, we're like, oh, we can do this everywhere. So that also started last night and this morning too. So by returning the blood, so to speak, of Source, or the blood of Christ, back to a pure form, so a pure light mixed with red versus the darkness mixed with red, we can now regain control of the causal plane of existence throughout the multiverse. And therefore, the slavery that was caused by the event that happened 2,000 years ago on humanity as a whole no longer applies. And this is part of the reason why their repeated trying to leverage securities and all the things that they did not work this weekend. It will not work. They cannot do that unless they get someone to agree to it. And I can tell you right now that that person that is going to agree to it is not me. So, and it is not a human walking this planet. And you got to go straight up to the source if you'd like to do that again. And I'm not going to agree. And I'm sure you're not probably going to agree, Sunny. So if there's anybody out there that wants to agree, you can leave the planet now. There, we'll show you the door, pat you on the butt. We've worked too hard for this. There's no way.
No.
Yeah. So hopefully this will start permeating through other things. As far as they're concerned, they were unsuccessful in raising the Antichrist, or the Christ anti-source duality, so to speak. They stood at the garden tomb for, 2 days until finally yesterday, in probably midday my time, my last care for those people had left, and I just hit every site they were at. I didn't even care. I don't care if they were just innocent bystanders and standing there. I just did not care anymore. After all the crazy things they did this weekend, knowingly or unknowingly, because they did not know that it was all coming at me. They did not know that.
Sure.
They do now, now that I'm saying it, but they did not know at the time. I don't know what they were expecting. They, like I said, it's like little kids playing with dad's guns or something like that. It's just, they don't know what it does. They don't know what a trigger is. They don't know what a safety is. These people don't know anything other than the fact it's a special day in their mind. This weekend is special and everything is going to happen by April 1st. And aren't we so happy? Get everybody to focus on that end outcome of receiving alleged money. So
when you said you hit back, was that an energetic hit back, or what, for example, at the garden tomb?
Oh, depending on the people, like you said, there's always a choice, right? You can tell when there's an innocent, and you can tell when there's someone that's really taking a part in what's happening here. And I'd say that in the beginning, on Friday, maybe into Saturday morning, I was just basically giving them it's like a pushback. So you shielding yourself, you flip your shield the other way, so whatever they're throwing at you goes back to those people, and then it's like a push, like kind of takes them back for a minute and gets them to stop. And I do that with most of what I call the industrial psychics. They have all these people that are part of the Jedi program and that kind of thing that come at us a lot when they're doing something special and they need to take us off our game, kind of thing. But by Sunday morning, not going to lie, there was a rapid dissension, let's just put it this way, of many, many people. Anybody that was playing and participating in this game was gone. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to. I mean, it took all I had, but it's okay. Still here, still breathing, still smiling.
Do you know, were they actually, where the public can go with the garden tomb, were they actually around there, or were they underground? They were up there, like with other people.
In part, yes. and then underground as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I'm like, if a lot of people just started falling over, I mean, didn't anyone have a camera to capture it or something of like, you know, a bunch of these guys?
It's hot. It's hot there. Might just be heat exhaustion or something. I don't know. They're in the desert. Maybe got a little dehydrated. You don't know. People fall over all the time.
I would imagine that's was a very, you know, busy spot over the weekend. That's why I was like, gosh, if people just started falling over, you know, I think someone would say something, unless they were underground or, you know.
There's some underground, but there was a few that were sitting there watching it, and they were just bystanders like everybody else. Tell me if something happens up there. We're going to do this down here, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, thank you.
And then you said there was an agreement that expired or a covenant that expired. What was that specifically?
Lots of them actually expired over the weekend. So it might just be a timing thing. Not sure. There were some that were regular agreements, which kind of gave the Black Sun, I guess you would say, or global headquarters or anybody else that used to work for them, some rights of management over the energy, but the ultimate slavery agreement to utilize the Christ or your Christ energy, so to speak, or your love to create in the lower astral ended.
Okay.
So,
and that was started after the crucifixion when Christ went down. So that was the start of it.
The second part of it. Yeah.
The second part of it.
Yeah.
What was the first part of it then?
That would be when we became a loosh farm about 1.5 million years ago.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But still, there were different rules underneath those terms and conditions of us being parasitic multiverse in part. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was a covenant that had been in place for a while then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how long?
The first one?
Yeah, the first one.
Well, okay, so 3 billion years ago, we went into the Dark Age. There was many attempted takeovers of the causal plane, but 250,000 years ago is when they finally took over the causal plane, but they still were not able to, other than what they looshed from us humans, able to use that energy with consent to create. So a lot of the programs and rituals we see that go on this planet, you know, diseases, different things, jobs, getting money, monetary systems, all of those things were created so that they have our consent, so to speak, to use our energy for those purposes. But when you have the Christ, you have a never-ending piece of source. So they didn't ease up on us in any way. You know, they just, we were their cattle. So,
yeah.
But we survived. We lived.
We did. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
It was. I don't know how we're all still here. I mean, I don't know how I'm still here after this weekend. I got to be honest with you. It was rough. Not going to lie. But we are strong. We can do this. So April Fool's, Sunny, I'm not really here. And that's about it for what I have for the World Situation Report. Right now, they're just going a little crazy, looking to see if there's still a possibility. No.
And, you know, it's really interesting, back to timing and stuff, that all this is happening before this solar eclipse. I mean, it got me wondering, you know, because I've been watching different videos online for their take on stuff, and, you know, what's the general population saying about this, and then what are, like, you know, spiritual teachers saying about this, and all this kind of stuff. Have you seen anything through the Alpha system to suggest that for those of us who are already awake and aware at this time, that there would be another shift in consciousness for us? You know, we talked before about people, you know, being, you know, more awake and aware after this solar eclipse. But for the people that are already there, I realize that having other people awake and aware helps us too. I don't want to deny that. But do you see anything that would suggest, obviously the planet's not ascending as a whole that I'm aware of, But like a personal ascension for people that have already done some of the work, do you see anything like that that might be possible with this eclipse?
Well, typically, this is a new moon as well. And typically, new moons mean new beginnings, and full moons mean endings. I don't know what to expect, honestly. I haven't heard anything at this moment, other than it's going to be cool. Been definitely making sure that there's no eclipse hardware, let's just say, space junk in the sun, the moon, or anything it could possibly connect to that would make a difference on that day. Absolutely, 100%. The archivists have said as well that they do not expect anything to happen on that day. And the way things work, because remember, sources doesn't work like with time. It's not like a day or one little moon and one little galaxy that's not even a real moon isn't really going to make a big difference aligning with a big sun, one star when there's billions and billions, so that's not, Earth is keystone, so that I can see where, as a nexus planet, that would be possible. But what I'm actually seeing is the transition of the Taurus of Earth changing to more of a love creative energy, because Earth would be a co-creator too. It's a being unto itself. So I'm seeing some of that stuff happen. Things for us, I guess, are in sequence more than it is a time thing or a day thing. Although days in human history are also important because maybe not calendar days, but actual days of things. Like, for example, the equinox is, half light, half dark, like that did, a lot of agreements were signed on those kind of days. Same thing with solstices and whatnot. So it does play a factor from that standpoint of time. But I would say that it's like, okay, this happens. And once that completes, then you can do this part, and then you can do this. It's almost like diffusing a bomb at the same time you're making a cake. You have to stir the dry ingredients over here before you put them in the wet ingredients, and you've got to blend it up, and you've got to, you can't do this before you put that. You can't put the dry ingredients in before the wet ingredients are fully blended or won't work out. And then you put the parchment paper down in the pan. You got to preheat the oven or it's not going to cook right. But like all these things happen in a sequence of events, and it's kind of the same way I feel like, working to usher in the golden age and usher in the light age and to change crystalline time and clean up the mess that was already here and all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's just been one thing happens and the next thing happens and the next thing happens. So yeah. I'm hoping for something really positive. I really am, but we'll see. It's a week from today.
It is. And is there a specific time for it? Well, everyone's on different time. There we go again with time.
Here you go again with time. So, I think it's like, I want to say 11 something Central Time, I think. Okay. But I think it goes over a few hours.
Yeah.
Partially until it's like from, it moves up and then it kind of like peaks for a certain amount of time, and then it starts moving on its way. So I don't know, maybe a few hours total or something.
Okay.
But hey, kids, if you're watching this and you happen to be of school age, you don't have school. And if you're lucky enough not to have work, congratulations.
I think my kids still have school on Monday. Yeah, they'll be in school for this. So I don't think teachers are taking them outside. Maybe they will. I don't know. For all I know, they're making glasses in school and whatever, cutting things out of cereal boxes. I have no idea.
That's what we used to do.
I know. Now they got fancy stuff you can order on Amazon.
Yeah, and they give them away for free at certain places or whatever. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Fancy glasses. Why not capitalize on it, right? I'm sure it's probably the same deep state people that think we're all going to blow up and die like rats, you know?
Yeah, they were probably selling us those N95 masks, you know, a few years back too. So, yeah, same people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 3M. 3M.
Yeah, 3M. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
so I guess we'll see you on Wednesday.
We will see you on Wednesday.
See how this goes.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kim. Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with the people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN meme of the day. It's a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all of our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together. And that wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record it and share it with us so we can help you share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.